distinguished experts on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, I thank India Foundation for organizing this conference on counterterrorism. And I congratulate them for making it an annual event and a destination for experts, both analysts and practitioners from all over the world, to assemble and deliberate over the issue that concerns all of us. With the prospect of an all-out war increasingly receding, because we all know how devastating the consequences would be, terrorism is emerging as a low-cost option for the states, and is also a relatively easier option and more effective option for the organizations and individuals to achieve their objective, be it political, religious, ideological, social, or whatever it might be. You know, terrorism is an indiscriminate use of force, violence, against non-combatant targets to achieve certain objectives. India Foundation has been organizing this gathering every year for the experts to assemble and understand the contours of this particular phenomenon, to get better insight into it. Because terrorism is, we all know, is not a new phenomenon, but what is new about is the scale of it. And this scale has been possible because of technology. So its manifestation is linked with the technological innovations. This conference has debated and discussed various aspects of it. And this session is dedicated to understanding the future of it, whether terrorism is here to stay for tomorrow, and if it is so, what is going to be the shape of it, how it is going to manifest. Looking into the future on terrorism is not something like gazing into the crystal ball or reading the tea leaves, because the beautiful minds have gone into understanding this phenomenon, be it a spiritual mind, be it intellectual mind. Every society, irrespective of the stage of civilizations that they are, has one thing in common. They believe that human is a mix of good and bad. And balancing this, making the good prevail over the bad, has been the task of societies all through. They have their tales, they have their folklores, and intellectual minds, those who have gone into the human psychology. Perhaps one of the greatest among them is Sigmund Freud, who looked into it and tried to look into the metaphysics of the violence. He came up with two theories. One, which he beautifully described in Civilization and Its Discontents, that individual and society are in a perpetual state of tension. Individual is ever seeking instinctive gratification of its desire, and society is to curb it, repress it for the sake of conformity. So this state of perpetual tension caused by the primary friction between the individual's instinctive desire for gratification and society's needs to curb it is an eternal state of affairs. Similarly, when the communities, with the globalization, when there is greater degree of uniformity which is taking place, this unique sense of self of every community is being challenged. This is what they call narcissism of minor differences, that when the unique sense of the self of a community is challenged, it seeks to look for minor differences and it tries to assert its distinctness. And this tension, which is reflecting in various ways, it is manifesting in terms of either assertive nationalism or even communities, ethnic nationalism, each one is saying that one has his own homeland. This phenomenon, the human society has to live with. What has made it more complex is technology. And technology has brought it to a level which Churchill has put it very nicely in his characteristic style, that we have this dichotomy of, good and bad, innate propensity for violence and need to curb it, its management. We have reached the stage of sublime irony where the safety is the brother of terror, and survival is the twin of annihilation. Now, we know that this is going to stay. Terrorism has a very secure future. It's not going to go away. And to that extent, India Foundation has a job cut out for it for years to come. What makes it more difficult or more sinister is when the states start using this option to achieve their objective. So far, it is limited to the individual and the community is understandable. But the state being a political entity, when it starts using terror as an instrument of its policy, it makes it far more complex, far more devastating because they have enormous resources at their disposal. What form it will take tomorrow? It depends on the new technology which will emerge. From the primitive ways, when we had a very primitive means of communications, terrorism was isolated. When the communication system evolved, it started becoming bigger, manifesting. Now with the internet and digital, it became far more potent. And now with the cyber and artificial intelligence and other new domains of science which is coming up, it is going to be far more difficult and complex. So what form it will take, it's a matter of assessment. We have a panel of distinguished experts. They will develop on it. We will benefit from their experience, their presentations, and of course, at the end of it, we would love to have a very lively, interactive session. Thank you very much. May I invite the speaker? What is the sequence? What is the sequence?